On many occasions, the behavior of human beings is contradictory. That is what I wish to show with the stickmen I introduce on page 21 of the book. We could say these figures are part of a stickman analysis, an economic analysis using stickmen. So, instead of filling up the blackboard with charts, mathematics and formulas, I fill it up with stickmen. They are a simplified representation of ordinary human beings, like each and every one of us. Well, in the process of entrepreneurial creativity, we not only generate exclusive and dispersed entrepreneurial knowledge, but we also often generate contradictory actions. This happens when the actions of some people are incompatible or out of tune with those of other people. What we will see together this year is how the entrepreneurial social process of a free market economy permits us to take advantage of a huge volume of entrepreneurial creativity that is not at our disposal, but springs from other people. And we will see that this process is not only creative, but also coordinating. In other words, it tends to detect maladjusted behaviors and overcome maladjustments or discoordination by coordinating the behaviors. And this all happens spontaneously, without anyone's coercively bringing it about from above. I am explaining the essence of social science, the essence of the social phenomenon which is our object of study, and is also a surprising wonder. It is surprising that, without anyone's direction from above, spontaneously, creativity is stimulated, and maladjusted or discoordinated processes are coordinated. Many times, the dispersed knowledge we possess is maladjusted. That is what I am illustrating here. We will use this halo of short lines to represent the exclusive, practical, entrepreneurial knowledge of this man or woman, this human being, A, and here the practical knowledge of B. And we will suppose that in certain specific circumstances of time and place, that practical knowledge is that A intends to achieve an end, X, and the arrow that points to X indicates, in this diagram, the end pursued. As you know, the end is what motivates the actor to act. A is very upset because he realizes that to achieve the end X, he needs a resource, a means, R. Let us recall that we defined the means as anything the actor subjectively believes will enable him to accomplish his desired end. He values the end and assigns utility to the means, depending on the value of the end he believes the means will permit him to accomplish. Why is A upset? Because according to the knowledge he has at this moment, he cannot achieve the end X, because he lacks the resource R. So he cannot do it. He is frustrated. He cannot complete his action. Well, let us suppose that somewhere else in the market, and when I say somewhere else in the market, I am speaking in a praxeological sense. We mustn't be materialists. We mustn't think of geographical places. They could be right next to each other. I'll give you an example from the movies in a moment. Somewhere else, in a praxeological sense, in terms of human action, we find B, who is pursuing a completely different end. I have indicated it with an arrow that points down to the end Y. Furthermore, there is the following circumstance. Resource R is available to her in great abundance. She has a tremendous amount of it, but she attaches no importance to it, and she wastes it. She sees it like the curse of Texas. Do you know what the curse of Texas was? Well, before the discovery of the internal combustion engine, the main source of wealth in Texas was livestock, vast expanses of farmland where people raised cattle, many head of cattle. But it turns out there was a curse on Texas with respect to many parts of the United States, because from time to time, no one knew why, it was a mystery, a blackish, oily substance would ooze out of the ground into pools, namely oil. And if the cattle got close and the oil mixed with the water and the cattle drank the water, bam, the cattle would die. The poor stock breeders did not know what to do with it, except misuse it. Land was worth much less when that curse was upon it. In any case, they would light a match to it when they could, and poof, maybe it would go up in flames, and they could free themselves from the curse. One person misuses precisely the resource that in another praxeological place, another person urgently needs to accomplish a much valued end. When one person, depending upon his or her circumstances, misuses a resource that another person desperately needs, we say there is discoordination or a maladjustment. I could cite thousands of examples. For instance, there is a law on income from urban property, and this law prevents a free market in rentals. So there could be an elderly couple who live in Madrid's Salamanca district in a 500 square meter apartment with 20 rooms, 15 of which are always kept closed. And at the same time, there could be a newlywed couple with a child living in a cramped 40 square meter apartment in the Vicálvaro district. Some people misuse what other people desperately need, or perhaps we live near a river, and since the river is not private, and those who live upstream cannot sell their water, they do not appreciate it. They channel into the watering basin all they need for irrigation, and on top of that, they neglect it and waste it all. They have no incentive to save water. However, the Murcians who live downstream happen to need water like a spring shower, an appropriate expression, because they live in a very dry area. Some people waste what other people need. Or maybe I go to the movies feeling depressed because my girlfriend has left me. Oh, if I could only find the woman of my dreams, with such and such physical and spiritual characteristics, etc. I buy my ticket, and it turns out there is another girl who has those characteristics, because life is full of circumstances, and she buys a ticket and sits down next to me. The lights go down, and we both watch the movie. Just imagine. We are sitting right next to each other physically, but we may be light years away from each other in terms of praxeological human action. And when the movie is over, we may each go our own way and never meet. And yet we are perfect for each other. Or perhaps we do meet. We may have a chance encounter. That is why I say that it is not physical nearness that matters, but other places in a praxeological sense in terms of human action. As we will see, though I do not want us to get ahead of ourselves, the social process drives human creativity when we act, and gives rise to an inconceivable and constantly growing volume of new ideas about ends, means, etc. Ideas which move civilization forward, and which are only available to us in a tiny amount, and are exclusive, though we can still take advantage of this enormous volume of ideas as if we ourselves had created them, when we did not. Think of the examples of the watch, the suit, etc. Furthermore, we will see that whenever there is a maladjustment or social discoordination arises, there is also a very powerful incentive for the entrepreneurial act to uncover the maladjustment and achieve coordination.